One of the questions that fundamentally keeps cropping up when talking about music for games or music in general is how do you create a sound? Now, for me, once I'd established what type of music that I thought that the game needed, I started with various synths, and that's when the fun really begins. Now, I use some high-end synths with lots of knobs and things so I can twist and sort of shape the tone as to what I thought was the needed or necessary 8-bit sound. Now, although I wanted an 8-bit sound, I also wanted some analog warmth in there, hence the use of the Moogs. But having said that, the Prophet 12 was quite an essential tool in that because it bridged the gap between the old analog and the old digital sounds, because the synth itself is actually a mixture of both, with digital oscillators and old analog circuitry. Now, for you synth audio geeks or audiophiles out there, you'll understand what I mean. But for the general population out there, it basically allows the best of both worlds. Gives me a digital sound, but yet it can sound very smooth and warm. Now, after finding what I thought were the sounds that the game needed, I recorded it through an old mixing desk and straight into the industry standard of Logic on the Mac, which is an audio mixing software. What I wanted to do was to capture the old grainy 8-bit audio sound, so to give the really little bitty sounds that you would get with the old games. Now, what I did, not only did I record the audio itself, but I recorded the MIDI signal as well, which is a digital computer signal that goes out to the computer. And what that allowed me to do was to be able to further manipulate the sound. Once I'd received the audio recordings inside the computer, I could then layer more rich textures on top of those sounds to make a really lush, big soundscape for the actual game. Now, in the end, it turned out that, well, I didn't really need to use these big high-end synthesizers to come up with the sound. I just ended up going with using the raw MIDI data and using the audio instruments inside of Logic and tweaking those sounds to as close as I could get to the actual sounds that I originally created. And the MIDI actually allowed me to change a couple of notes that I weren't really sure when I recorded it in. It was a lot quicker doing that than it was to actually record from scratch.